Hey guys, this is Vadim with Max Tech, and right here in front of me, I have Apple's 2019 16-inch MacBook Pro, and I have the brand new 2020 HP Omen. Now this is probably one of the weirdest laptops I've ever compared to a MacBook, but it has something very special, and that is Intel's 10th generation chip. It's the i7, and it's actually the 6 core. And the cool thing about this comparison is that we believe that this processor is going to be going into the refreshed 16-inch MacBook Pro. So in this comparison, we're going to compare everything, including the keyboards, the trackpads, the displays, the size, the ports, the performance, and basically everything else like that, just to see if it's worth paying over $1,000 more for the 16-inch MacBook Pro, or if you can buy this for a low price of $1,300 and get some decent performance. And of course, this is focused on gaming, but you could actually do some video editing and other work like that. So with that, the first thing I want to compare is the size. Now, even though this is a 15-inch laptop compared to 16, this thing's actually bigger than the 16-inch MacBook Pro. I actually feel that it's wider and it's definitely taller, and it gets even worse, I guess you can say, if you look at the thickness. This thing is massive compared to the MacBook Pro, which is relatively slim. If you look at it from the side, there's a huge difference in thickness. And due to the large size, it also weighs quite a bit more. We got 4.4 pounds for the MacBook Pro and around 5.4 for the HP Omen. So this is definitely a big laptop. And basically, if you care about portability, you're definitely going to want to go for the MacBook Pro 16 because it's a lot thinner and it's easier to carry around and lighter. Now, the advantage for the HP laptop is the ports. So let's compare those. The MacBook Pro simply gets 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports, nice and standard. They're very fast ports, but they're limited, along with, of course, a headphone jack. Now on the HP laptop, it's a whole different story. We have a headphone jack right there. We have a Thunderbolt 3 port, which is nice. We have a mini display port right there. We have 2 USB-A ports. We have an HDMI port, and we actually have Ethernet, and it's actually a cool way that they did this. You can actually pull this back to plug in your Ethernet, and when you're not using it, it kind of snaps in and it's flush with the design, which is nice. And of course, the power plug-in. And on the other side, we have another USB-A port and an SD card slot. So this thing is definitely the winner in terms of ports, and it's nice to see those legacy ports, or what the MacBook Pro calls them, come back on here. And before we crack open these displays, I want to turn them over to the back and just compare the exhaust vents. And as you guys can see on the HP, we have a ton of vents. Huge cooling system. It's definitely a lot more thick. And we have actually a exhaust vent here on the side, and we have exhaust vents here on the back. Now the MacBook Pro is definitely more subtle. We have these thin strips right here on the side for cooling, and of course another thin strip for the exhaust vents on the back. And it looks like the speaker grills are actually right here on the HP Omen, so it kind of bounces off your desk and shoots up. So we're gonna test those really soon. Now, one thing that's already annoying me a little bit is all of the fingerprints that I'm getting. Like, I just started using this, there's fingerprints all over it because it's black, compared to no fingerprints right here because you just don't see them on the MacBook. Now, I love Apple's hinges because you literally, one hand, open it up like that. Let's test out the Omen. Nope. It's not too bad actually, but definitely not as good of a hinge. Now, one thing you'll instantly notice is this gap near the hinge on the HP. This is definitely a weird design choice that they made. I'm definitely not used to that, but I could see some people might think it's cool. Now, just looking at the layout of these displays, I like that the MacBook Pro kind of has a full sheet of glass covering the whole thing, compared to the HP having this kind of old style where the display is only on the inside and you have like plastic covering the whole exterior where the bezels are at. So definitely makes it look old compared to the MacBook Pro, which I don't really like about it. Now, going down to the keyboards, there's one huge difference, and that is the HP choosing to add a numpad on the side. So they're using the full width compared to the MacBook Pro, which actually has some pretty large speaker grills on the sides, and they don't have the numpad. And of course, the MacBook Pro has the touch bar, just like that, so some people don't like it. I actually prefer the function keys like you get on the HP. Getting into the typing feel of the keyboard, I really like the MacBook Pro's new Magic Keyboard. It gives you a lot more key travel than before, than the butterfly keys, and some good feedback as well. Now going over to the Omen, I actually really like how much key travel you get. Of course, this is a thicker laptop, so you get more key travel, and the feedback is also really good. It's a really tough choice. They feel pretty similar, but yeah, I think the HP feels a little bit mushy. It's on the mushy side. So I think I'd actually go with the MacBook Pro for the keyboard feel. Now, if we move down to the trackpads, this is where we see probably the biggest difference ever. So Apple's trackpads are known to be the best because they use their Force Touch technology, so it doesn't actually click. It has a motor that vibrates and it simulates a click, so you can customize all the different pressure settings. And the cool thing is that it doesn't use a diving board design, so anywhere you click, you get an even clicking feel. Feels really great, so best trackpad I've ever used, and it's also very large. Over to the Omen, you get this tiny offset trackpad. It's not centered, and the weird thing is that it doesn't actually click. You can just do tap to click, and right below it you actually have two buttons. You have a left click button and a right click button, and that's totally weird. Like I don't remember the last time I had a trackpad that was like this. That's like years and years ago when we had these trackpads. So it's a little bit weird to use, definitely not used to it. So the MacBook Pro is definitely the winner in terms of the trackpad. Now let's move on and compare the displays between these two. So the MacBook Pro has a 16-inch display compared to 15.6-inch. Now, I'm noticing something really, really weird. The display on the HP Omen looks very blue, kind of like almost with like a greenish tint, and I'm on Google, which is a white page. This looks just horrible. The MacBook definitely looks a lot more white, but it is using True Tone, so it's automatically changing the white balance to make it look more white. Now I'm going to turn that off, and even with that off, the HP still looks so weird and off. Now another difference is that this uses a anti-glare display, so it's kind of like a matte display, and because of that, everything doesn't look that sharp. Like I'm looking at the Google image, the logo right there, it does not look sharp at all. The colors look bad compared to a regular display on the MacBook. Everything looks great, and you're actually getting around 2.8K resolution compared to 1920 by 1080 on the HP Omen, but of course there's a difference in refresh rate. We have 144 Hz right here compared to only 60 on the MacBook. Now of course the MacBook Pro is meant for like productivity and stuff like that, and this is a gaming machine, so 144 Hz is definitely what you want, but the display quality is just so bad. It's not sharp, not color accurate, but if you're gaming it might not matter. And as far as the brightness, the MacBook Pro is definitely much more bright compared to the HP. Now I have a video playing right here, and you can easily tell how much better the colors, the contrast, everything is, the detail on the MacBook Pro compared to the HP, which really does not look that great. The colors just don't look nearly as vibrant, and everything has like a blue tint to it because of the display. Now let's go ahead and get into the speaker comparison between these two. Obviously the MacBook Pro costs over $1,000 more, so we should expect the speakers to be better, but I noticed on the HP that there's Bang and Olufsen speakers, so let's see how they sound. So let me know what you guys thought down in the comment section below, but that was a massive difference. The MacBook Pro is better in literally every single way. the mids, the wide range of frequencies, especially the bass, the volume. Now the speakers didn't sound that bad on the Omen, except it was lacking some bass and definitely lacking volume. So the MacBook Pro easily beat out the HP. However, the HP Omen should actually perform a lot better than the 16-inch MacBook Pro. So let's get into the performance comparison, starting with Geekbench 5. Now, these both have i7s, they're 6 cores, but the one in the Omen has the brand new 10th generation one, which we do expect to be put into the 16-inch MacBook Pro, hopefully sometime this summer. So I got the scores back and the performance is a little bit underwhelming on the HP. 4900 multi-core score compared to 5500. Now the reason is because neither of them are plugged in. However, I did check the power settings and it's set to best performance, as you guys can see. So you have to be plugged in to get the full performance. So let's go ahead and plug that in and retest this. All right, now that is what I'm talking about. Check out that single core score, 1249 on the HP. That's actually higher than any Mac ever. The multi-core score is insane, 6400 compared to 5600. Now that is almost as powerful as the 8-core processor on the current 16-inch MacBook Pro. So if we're getting this chip in a 16-inch refresh, that is great news. Now the even cooler part about the HP is that it comes with a GTX 2060 dedicated graphics card compared to an AMD 5300M. So let's go ahead and test Geekbench 5's graphics test, Metal on the MacBook and CUDA on the HP. All right, this is insane. 23,000 on the MacBook Pro, 77,000 on the HP Omen. That is over 3 times the graphics score. So basically this tells us that anything to do with graphics, rendering, video editing, and especially gaming is going to be a lot better on the HP. So let's go ahead and test gaming performance using the Unigine Heaven benchmark. So while this is running, I could easily tell that the HP is getting a lot more FPS, but I am noticing a lot more fan noise from that 2060 graphics card. All right, so we got our scores, 45 FPS on the MacBook Pro and 95 on the HP Omen. So basically, over double the score. So this is going to be great for gaming, and that's also why they have the 144 Hz display. So if you guys are interested in watching us play some games on this machine, go ahead and subscribe right now. So let's finish our performance testing off with Cinebench R20. So we just got our scores, and this is probably the most interesting part of this video. Even though we got a much higher Geekbench score, it's actually almost the same, just slightly better than the MacBook Pro, which is very surprising. Now I think what's happening is that Windows is limiting the power on the chip, whereas macOS on the MacBook Pro is just pushing this chip to its limit. So that's why we're getting such good performance, even though this is not the 10th gen chip like the HP Omen. So now let's finish off with our conclusion. Obviously the HP is a much better deal for what you get because it's only $1,300 compared to $2,400 on the MacBook Pro, and you're getting a GTX 2060 graphics card, you're getting the latest 10th gen i7 6-core processor, and you're also getting 1 terabyte of SSD compared to 512 on the MacBook Pro. Now with the MacBook, you're obviously getting a much better design. It's thinner, it's not as large, it's not as heavy, much better trackpad, pretty good keyboard as well. But the Omen is definitely the king of performance in this comparison. So which one do you buy? Well, if you're a gamer, you're obviously not going to go with the MacBook Pro. Definitely go with the HP because you're getting so much performance for only $1,300. And even though the trackpad isn't great, the display is definitely not good, it actually does not matter to a gamer because they're going to be using a mouse instead of the trackpad, and they're going to want that 144 Hz refresh rate display, even though it doesn't look that great. And for anybody doing serious productivity work, you're definitely going to want to get the MacBook Pro instead. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, go ahead and tap the like button and click the circle above to subscribe, and we're going to have links to each of these machines down in the description below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.